It's an ordinary day in Colombia, and a gathering of laborers is showing up at Belco, a charity association that assists South American organizations with recruiting U.S. public laborers. Earlier today everybody is amazed on the grounds that rather than the standard safety officer at the entry, there are equipped warriors assessing everybody before they're permitted to get in, requesting IDs and actually taking a look at trunks. Chief Barry sees specific representatives are sent home and when he gets some information about it, his inquiry is disregarded. Inside, everybody is going through their mornings to no one's surprise, despite the fact that they truly do see as it were, the outsiders were permitted to remain and every one of the Colombians were sent home. Today is Danny's first day at work and leader Vince shows her the nuts and bolts. He likewise ensures Danny has proactively had a tracker embedded in her mind. All workers are put through this since seizing is a serious issue in Colombia and the tracker assists the organization with safeguarding their representatives. While Marty stows away, in the washroom to smoke, Leandra needs to manage steady badgering from Dukes, who gazes at Leandra while she works and won't stop when she lets him know he's making her anxious. At least she can find an interruption in her beau Mike, who likewise works here and they frequently put down the blinds to make up during work hours. Today they nearly get found out, so Mike returns to his own office. At the point when he glances through the window, he sees one of the warriors entering a shelter straightaway to the organization building. Inquisitive, Mike calls Evan, the safety officer responsible for the gathering, however, he doesn't have any idea what the arrangement with the fighters is by the same token. Out of nowhere, an obscure voice starts talking through the radio and reports that there are 80 representatives in the structure, yet all at once in 8 hours the majority of them will be dead except if they follow his orders. The main undertaking the voice gives them is to kill 2 individuals inside the following half hour. On the off chance that there aren't 2 bodies shortly, there'll be serious outcomes. Representatives are befuddled by the message and believe it's some sort of trick, however they actually pass on their work areas to figure out what's happening. A lady attempts to get out, however, at that point the structure's safety efforts initiate and metal plates start, obstructing every one of the windows and ways out. This additionally hinders all web and telephone signals. The climate control system closes down too. Vince goes to check the control room and thinks that it is unfilled, so the voice some way or another contacted them from outside. Everybody races to the hall to request replies, yet, Evan doesn't have the foggiest idea what's going on either, and it's basically impossible to call for help. Individuals are beginning to overreact, feeling like they're caught in a prison with no daylight. Mike asks Upkeep, men Bud and Lonnie to utilize their blowtorch to make an opening in the metal plates, and they consent to attempt. Barry attempts to quiet everybody somewhere near making sense of the metal plates are a safety effort. The organization introduced in light of the fact that they're an administration building and they required security in the event of a military occasion. It appears to be some programmer found this element and is pulling a trick on them, so they need to stand by without complaining to stay away from any mishaps. Certain individuals go to the rooftop to have some outside air and find Marty with his companion smoking to disregard their nerves. Since the structure is in no place, there's no one they can shout at for help. In the anteroom, Bud and Lonnie attempt to liquefy the metal plate without much of any result. The plate isn't in any event getting hot, and that implies it isn't any sort of metal they've known about. Mike lets Barry know that he stressed this might be as a matter of fact, serious on the grounds that it can't be a happenstance that the fighters took over security in the first part of the day. However, Barry simply lets him know he's being suspicious. Up on the roof, the gathering sees a watchman in a guard box close to the storage and attempts to stand out, yet the watchman simply gives them a unusual look and keeps on drinking his tea. Marty thinks everybody is stressing an excessive amount in light of the fact that this is clearly a mental test to perceive how the specialists would respond in tense circumstances. Out of nowhere, one of the workers shouts and falls dead to the floor. At first it seems to be a shot injury, yet, before long 3 additional individuals bite the dust in the anteroom as well, every one of them having a similar issue, something unexpectedly, harming the rear of their heads, however there aren't slugs anyplace. Individuals shout in frenzy as they take off to stow away, yet Barry sees something odd and approaches one of the bodies to find the heads detonated in view of the tracker the organization embedded in them. Mike promptly runs to track down a blade and takes it to the washroom to attempt to eliminate the tracker in his mind, however at that, once more, second the voice talks and advises him to stop or his tracker will detonate in 10 seconds, Mike doesn't surrender as late as possible, and afterward allows a secretary to give him join. Leandra goes to the kitchen to discover a few ice for Mike and Dukes follows all her on hassling her, clearly he feels that a collaborator treating him with great habits rises to sending blended messages. Leandra affronts him and leaves. In the meantime in another room, a few workers find there have been cameras stowed away wherever from the beginning. Barry approaches Evan to ask him for the keys to the ordnance where the watchmen keep their weapons, however Evan declines since he thinks it'll make everything more awful regardless of whether Barry swears it's for good measure. At the point when Barry advises him that he's the chief, Evan essentially stops. In the meantime Bud gives Lonnie a wrench and requests that he look out before they go to the storm cellar to beware of the power and check whether they can basically bring back the climate control system. Once more, that second the secretive voice talks, saying he trusts everybody can see the game is serious at this point. He reminds them not to contact the cameras or to eliminate the tracker, any other way he'll make anybody that attempts detonate on the spot. There are 76 representatives left, so the voice gives them the following undertaking: they should kill 30 individuals in 2 hours, or he'll kill 60 as discipline. Everybody in the entryway starts overreacting and quarreling about what to do, a few people even go to the kitchen to track down blades. Marty turns on the alarm figuring it might caution the local group of firefighters, yet, it's really a self-encased framework, so Evan searches for a method for switching it off. In the cellar, Lonnie starts crying and loses it when he hears the caution. Bud attempts to comfort him, yet all at once Lonnie's excessively restless and suspicious and thinks Bud needs to kill him, and he answers by hitting him with the wrench. Bud rapidly bites the dust. As Lonnie cries with culpability, he sees Danny has seen everything, and, in spite of the fact that Danny swears she won't utter a word, Lonnie pursues her to go after her. Danny attempts to push him away from her and Lonnie inadvertently hits his head against a few little metal bars that immediately kills him. Higher up, Barry involves his power as a supervisor to cause everybody to plunk down and examine things. Sentiments are partitioned. A gathering upholds Mike when he specifies there ought not be any killings. In any case, the other half backings Barry when he calls attention to they would rather not kill, yet it's the as it were decision they have. Leandra intrudes on the contention by proposing a suggestion. They could make flags and drape them on the rooftop to check whether any passing vehicles will stop. A great many people concur and leave with her. In any case, Barry initiates Dukes, Terry, and a couple of others for a substitute arrangement. Mike, Leandra, what's more, Evans are gathering supplies to make the flags when they unexpectedly hear an odd sound. It turns out Barry and his gathering are utilizing the blowtorch. To attempt to get to the arsenal, the threesome attempts to make them stop and they will not tune in, so Evans takes out his weapon to undermine them. Mike quickly quiets him down to keep away from brutality, however he utilizes the firearm to annihilate the blowtorch tank. Afterward the triplet goes higher up to work with the others. At the point when the standards are prepared, the gathering goes to the rooftop and attempts to hang them, however this main sources the troopers to take shots at them, to make them step back, and one of the representatives gets his hand injured. Mike needs to attempt once more. In any case, at that point the voice reports that anybody who continues demanding hanging the penance will get their tracker exploded. Mike doesn't tune in and the gathering needs to drag him back forcibly. They surrender and choose to return inside. As they advance ground floor, Mike contemplates whether the government is behind this. The occupation has forever been abnormal. No one never put a lot of thoughtfulness regarding the amount they worked, and the structure is in no place, as though it was continuously planned explicitly for this. Unexpectedly they're trapped by Barry and his men, who push Mike down the steps and request to have the ordnance keys. Evan tosses the keys to a lower floor, and Dukes responds by killing him with a blade. Leandra calls Dukes out for the pointless viciousness and Dukes nearly kills also. He just stops in light of the fact that Barry makes everybody continue on. Thereafter, Barry's bunch recovers the keys and opens the ordnance to get every one of the firearms that they get to utilize. They look for each individual concealing in the structure and carry them to the campaign at gunpoint. One person sees Danny concealing in the storm cellar, yet fortunately he keeps his mouth shut. Mike awakens on the steps, also tracks down Evan's body, yet Dukes tracks down him too. Furthermore, makes him go along. In the entryway, everybody is vexed and nearly a fit of anxiety, and Barry monitors things by taking shots at the roof. He disregards any proposals of payoffs and individuals' very own justifications for why they ought to live, like dealing with older guardians. Rather, Barry concocts his guidelines, and he begins by saving the people who have children that are under 18. Then he assembles each worker that is over the age of 60. However, this isn't sufficient, so he starts picking individuals aimlessly, albeit clearly. He chooses Mike from demonstrate hatred for. Anybody that attempts to oppose has chance on the spot. Not having any desire to hear his casualties' misery, Barry orders his men to turn on the radio so the music can cover the shouting as he shoots the divinely selected individuals individually. Danny hears the upheaval and comes to see what's happening, finding the slaughter. She quickly runs once more into the storm cellar and closes down the power, leaving the whole structure in dimness. Individuals start to shout and run while Barry and his men take shots at irregular, killing a few additional individuals. Numerous workers hurry to the storm cellar. What's more, Danny finds Roberto in the lift, who requests that she collaborate to check whether they can escape through the deep opening. Confusion and frenzy assume control over the spot as individuals keep on dying. Abruptly the storm cellar and closes down the power, leaving the whole structure in dimness. Individuals start to shout and run while Barry and his men take shots at irregular, killing a few additional individuals. Numerous workers hurry to the storm cellar. What's more, Danny finds Roberto in the lift, who requests that she collaborate to check whether they can escape through the deep opening. Confusion and frenzy assume control over the spot as individuals keep on dying. Abruptly the voice declares 29 individuals have passed on, so they need to kill another in the following 2 minutes, in the event that they don't believe 30 more should kick the bucket. Leandra figures out how to find an unfilled office and takes the edge from a paper guillotine to safeguard herself. She can hear Terry coming, so she stows away under a table in the wake of putting her shoe around a corner as snare. When Terry strolls by, Leandra hits him on the leg and makes him drop his weapon. Then, at that point, she prepares to kill him, however Terry asks for his life and Leandra chooses to save him. At that point the voice reports they planned out without following through with the responsibility, so 31 individuals should bite the dust. Leandra's choice ends up being futile, since Terry bites the dust on the spot, and 30 additional representatives all around the structure before long follow him. When the 31 passings are reached, the voice declares the last phase of the game. In 1 hour, whoever has killed a great many people will be permitted to live. Then he shares the ongoing count. Barry has 11, Dukes has 7, and Vince and Danny have 1 each. Barry's gathering right away, keeps on chasing individuals down to add more kills to their count. A secretary attempts to persuade Barry not to kill her by offering herself, but rather Barry kills her in any case prior to entering the lift where Danny and Roberto are stowing away. At the point when Barry press a button, Danny panics and leaps off the lift rooftop into the shaft edge, however Roberto doesn't respond rapidly enough and is squashed. This makes the lift stall out, leaving Barry caught inside. In the interim Leandra gets Terry's firearm and goes ground floor, where she finds Marty and his companion gathering the trackers from individuals that kick the bucket on account of others. Since these trackers have explosives, they might have the option to assemble enough of them to explode the wall. Then, at that point, Leandra utilizes the radio to tell Mike she's on the principal floor and requests that he join her. Mike promptly takes the steps and runs over a cafeteria woman, so he carries her with him. Marty, his companion, what's more, Leandra go to the cafeteria and find Dukes killing 1 more worker with additional viciousness, as though he appreciates it. Leandra shoots him, however the slug lands in his leg, and Dukes fires back, killing Marty and his companion. Involving a table for cover, Leandra snatches a hatchet and in the wake of throwing the table on top of Dukes to catch him, she utilizes the hatchet to over and again hit him. In the lift, Barry snatches the handrail to compel the entryway open while Danny cautiously clears her path through the shafts until she successfully returns to the lift. Leandra gets back to the entryway and reunites with Mike, where she shows him the explosives Marty gathered and Mike places them in his pocket. Abruptly Vince shows up with a Molotov mixed drink and kills the cafeteria woman. Mike and Leandra start taking off and run over Barry, who starts shooting at them. Vince likewise attempts to pursue them with additional bombs close by. Be that as it may, Barry thinks that he is first and kills him, giving Mike and Leandra time to stow away. Danny figures out how to get inside the lift, however when she arrives at another floor, Barry shoots her when the entryways open. In the meantime Mike finds Leandra was arrived at by a projectile. Mike swears he'll get her out and get help, however Leandra lets him know she adores him before she bites the dust. The misery and fury working in Mike are so solid that when Barry goes into the room, Mike leaves his concealing spot to go after him. A furious, hand-to-hand battle starts among them, and Mike figures out how to win it by killing Barry with a tape distributor. Mike starts crying since he loathes he needed to turn to this, and at that point, the voice reports he won. The windows and entryways open, and two warriors come to get Mike to take him to the adjoining storage. There Mike meets the man behind the voice and his accomplices, who make sense of they have a place with a global association show to the best masterminds in the world. They made their organization to concentrate on human conduct free by traditional ideas. Anyway, they will not make sense of what's really going on with the analysis, and they start to ask Mike how everything has caused him to feel. Mike will not reply, and notification aboard with everybody's names, close to a switch, which was utilized to enact the trackers. It's then, at that point, uncovered that when Mike was snatched by the warriors, he put the explosives Marty assembled inside a trooper's garments, so he races to the board and actuates every one of the switches aside from his own. The warriors bite the dust, then, Mike takes their weapons and utilizations them to kill the alleged researchers. A short time later Mike leaves the structure, thoroughly considering its presently. Anyway, a progression of screens uncover their recording the victors of many games like this, and another voice reports now is the right time to begin stage 2,